Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I'm SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and Instagram. And this is another special edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. I should say Flosstubers in this one. Today, I'm very, very honored to be here with Liz and Deb, and they are the country stitchers on Flosstube. Their channel is one of my favorites. It's filled with beautiful stitching, very unique finishing, which is really, really cool, and a lot of enabling. I mean, a lot of, not even kidding on that one. They show a range from like beautiful jewelry to very nice lap stands. There's a gadget corner, which is a lot of fun. So you can kind of see unique things that way. So you always want to have a pen or a pencil or some way to take notes when you're watching their video, for sure. I think one of my favorite things about their video that I've been watching since they started was their friendship. So their friendship comes through in the videos, which is really nice. So they sit there and they just talk with each other and just have a conversation, but they also include us in their conversations too, which is kind of neat. So it's kind of being there with friends basically, since they're just, chit chatting and talking about stitching and whatever else they're showing. So it's a really, really neat channel. If you have not checked them out, I will have a link down below. So you definitely want to go subscribe and give them a watch. So
thank you, Becca. Thank you. That's really sweet. And that's one of the best compliments, when people say that they feel like they're with us.
Yes.
That's awesome. We love that. Thank you.
That definitely comes through. It really does. So I think that's why I love that. I love being included. So.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for having us.
Yes, that's one of the reasons we started too. We'll tell you about that. But.
Awesome. Well, before we jump into the list of questions that I have, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit more about yourselves.
Go for it.
Me? Oh, all right. Let's see. I have a husband, 2 children, 4 grandchildren, and I was raised in a military family, so we moved around a lot. I think the average was every 2 years. But I was fortunate enough to finish my sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school in the same high school. My older brother and sister did not fare that well. They had to go to a separate high school in their senior year, which was really tough.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have a lot of identification with different areas across the United States, which kind of supported my career, which was in marketing for hospitals. So I could relate to people coming from other areas, which was really nice. And I've been stitching for, oh gosh, I hate to say the number now, but just shy of 50 years. So quite a while. And I have been in Pennsylvania since 1990, minus 6 years in Illinois. When I married Rick 21 years ago, we went to Illinois. So I had a little hiatus there before we moved back. So this is the longest I've ever lived in one place.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah. And she's not allowed to move again.
I'm not. We have a bungee cord attached to our ankles. We can only go so far apart from each other.
I love it.
Cool. And I have 2 kids. McKenna, my daughter, just got married last June. And her and her husband are living here with us, which is wonderful. We don't even want them to move out anytime soon, but they did find a house, which was great. We're all working together as a family to fix that up, because it is definitely a fixer-upper, but it'll be great. Logan is 18 and he will graduate high school in a few weeks. And my husband, Matt, runs an excavation company. I basically have always been a stay-at-home mom, but I do work part-time at a salon that I've been at for 31 years.
Oh,
so
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And she's born and raised in the area.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I lived in the same house until I got married.
That's so cool. You don't
it's
hear
so
that
funny.
Yeah.
But it's really cool because my parents they didn't make a career of the military, but my mom was in the Navy and my dad was in the Army. So that's also neat. And our moms were nurses.
Yep.
So it's just so cool. So many different.
And both our moms were parented. Your mom didn't have her dad and my mom didn't have her dad.
Yeah.
So it's all kinds of things that we discovered about each other.
Yeah, really neat.
Oh, you have a lot in common. That's neat. That's so cool. I mean, we were a military family too, but luckily when we settled here in Washington, my girls were able to basically most of middle school and high school, they were pretty stable.
Okay.
That's rough to be able to, move around and switch schools when you're trying to get, friends in a friend group. So
Yeah.
we're all military families, which is kind of
So how old are your girls?
So my oldest is 23. She just turned 23 at the end of April. And then my younger daughter is 17 and a half. She'll be 18 at the end of December. So
I would never have thought her girls would be that old. You do not look like you have girls that old.
thank you. I hear my older daughter is kind of like my twin, my mini me. So it's a lot of fun to go out with her. It's a blast. And she's the one that stitches. So
fun.
That's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, let's get into some of the questions. The first one is, why did you start a floss tube, and were there any particular motivations?
She looks to me. I tried to muscle her into this for 2 years. I had started watching Floss Tube probably, it's got to be close to 12 years ago now. And I would watch it as opposed to a movie and stitch and have a good time, because I was, at that point, my back had me pretty confined.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it. And I was noticing that the people doing the Floss Tube channels were either doing them by themselves, or there were a lot of mother-daughter Floss Tube channels at that time. And I thought, ooh, it'd be fun if two friends got on and did one. So I kept saying to Deb, you sure you don't want to do this? It'd be fun. Oh, I don't know. So one day she pops into the house. She brought her stitching. We were going to stitch together. And she goes, okay, if we're going to do this Floss Tube thing, let's do it now. So we just stopped our idea about stitching, put on the camera and recorded our first one. And we didn't even know how to post it. We didn't know how to send it to YouTube. We didn't know how to, I had a YouTube account because I watched it, but I had no idea how to get it there. So the first 4 days were, well, I got it this much farther.
Yeah.
I got this in this category. And it was so much fun. And then we worked our way through.
And McKenna, and I was not on any social media like at all. And McKenna's like, Mom, you got to get on Instagram now. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And so McKenna got her set up on Instagram. And then, well, anyway, the long and short of it was because we had so much fun stitching together. We thought this would be a fun thing to do. So that's how we got there. And the name, that goes to you.
Well, McKenna, I think, helped us with that too.
Yeah,
right?
she was brainstorming all our social media needs.
Yeah. So just, we are just two country girls. So
very cool name. Very cool name. I love that, because I remember watching the first videos of y'all, and I think they're in a room with just, I can't remember, it was like a window or a white wall or something. Yeah. So I thought that it was really neat. So cool. So how
can I say one more thing?
Oh, yep.
Becca, that was a 26-minute video.
I know.
And I don't think we've ever had one 26 minutes since.
Well, and yeah, that seems like it's so short now, because a lot of well, you guys sit and do a kind of hour long or a little bit more. I do an hour long. But what I love that you guys do is you do where you just sit and stitch and chat too. Which is kind of neat too. So you throw that in with like the regular updates, and I think that's where you get the whole, feeling included kind of thing, because you just sit and chit chat. So longer ones are so much better, because you can just sit and stitch and just listen, which is the best.
Thank you.
So the next question is, how did you learn to stitch, and how long have you been stitching?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. I learned when I was 16. My mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was 14, and she fought for 2 years and passed away when I was 16. And I had a teacher in high school that really just took me under her wings and actually became like another mother to me. And I was just with Gigi all the time. And I would go home with her after school. She'd help me with my homework. I'd stay there for dinner. I slept there a lot on weekends. She became part of our family, and I became part of their family. And one day I had seen this basket in her living room, with some material and things in it. And I asked her about it, and she goes, well, let me show you. And she described it that, the reason why she loved to stitch is because it was very relaxing to her. And she knew how I was really having a hard time, because back then you didn't have a lot of groups, help groups like you do now. And so I didn't have any friends I could talk to about losing my mom, because no one had experienced it. And other than, I'm grateful I have my brother, because Brian and I, of course, had each other. And that was, the best absolute thing. But I couldn't talk to my friends. They didn't know really what I was going through, so it was a really, really hard time. And she knew, I think, that stitching would help me kind of get out of my head a little bit and be able to concentrate on something else other than the fact that, I had to start this new normal in my life and figure it out. So we went away. I went away with her to her cabin place, which was in Penn State area. And we went to a nearby Walmart because that's what we had nearby. And I remember picking it was a little teddy bear and a little hot air balloon. And
I think they still make it.
And we brought it home, and she showed me, just the basic cross stitch. And I had it finished by Sunday when we were ready to go home. And she was right. As soon as I started, I was just able to concentrate on my stitching, and I was able to kind of it was therapy, 100%. And it still is 100% therapy. It is my go-to, my out, my way to relax. And so that Gigi is the one that got me started. And then we had a few cross stitch stores in our area. So I would check out those once in a while and try things on my own. But I did not know of the whole world of cross stitching until this one came along. I mean, I didn't know there were cross stitch magazines. I didn't know. Liz just, yes, you can work on more than one thing at a time. What?
I tainted her.
Yes.
She used to be a monogamous stitcher.
But thank you.
Oh, gotta love
Well,
friends.
I found embroidery as my first needlework. I had just moved to Arkansas. We were 11, and we had moved to the base, which we had not been base dwellers for, since I'd been 4. So I didn't really even remember living on the base to speak of. So we discovered that there was a hobby house, like a craft place where they taught classes and you could buy supplies at the base exchange. And so anyway, we would make our way up there during the summer when we moved there to try to find things to do. And they were teaching an embroidery class. And I thought, ooh, and I kind of connected with the lady teaching it. And she also taught macrame. And then I ended up being her babysitter for the next 10 years too. So that worked out well. But that's when I started it, and I never put it down and worked on it through college, and not as feverishly as once I had a job and could afford to pay for more of it, but as much as I could get in my hands at the time, I did. Yeah. And it is 100% therapy, like Deb says. Now, I stitched as much when my children were infants as I do now, probably because after their bedtime, it was my time. Mm. And so from about 8 o'clock on till 11, when I did lights out, that was stitch time. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. And I hear people say, how busy they are. They don't get much stitching time. And I think it kind of ebbs and flows through your life, when you have more or less time. But that's when I started. So it's been 50 years now.
Yeah, it may ebb and flow, but I think if for most of us, stitching has been pretty consistent, in our lives. I think I've been doing it for 24, 25 years now, but it's been off and on. But I get the whole, calming and that centering kind of thing. And it's funny to hear people. And actually, I just had a work meeting where I met the big boss, and he was asking me all these questions about, my stitching channel. And I'll see you so excited about it. But then one of the leads says, I don't have the patience to do that. And you hear that all the time. I don't have the patience to stitch. And I'm like, I'm trying to explain to them that, it gives you the patience. If you just try it, you won't say that again, basically. But
I had a friend that said that exact same thing when I tried to teach Judy how to stitch. And she did not. She definitely likes crafts that are more instant gratification.
Yeah.
And for me, I like that too, but I love that you can start with a blank piece of fabric and it builds and the design shows up, and that is exciting. I love that part of it.
Yep.
So it wasn't for her, you know.
Oh yeah, I guess I never looked at it as the instant gratification part. So maybe that's why they say it more.
Maybe. Yeah.
I never thought about it like that. I was just like, no, you could just try it. You'll see. We just need more stitchers. That's what it is. Stitchers.
Yep.
One of the things I hear a lot, Becca, is people saying, oh, my eyes are so bad, I can't possibly. And I think to myself, there's about 150 ways to fix that problem. And I encourage people all the different ways they can, but that's what I hear. And I kind of wonder if that's not a substitute for patience or gratification or the length of time. And
or they just didn't know about the options, you know, that are out there. Yeah.
And
I have a twin sister who needle and thread give her a rash. I mean,
I remember you talking about that.
She won't even put her own button on something. So
funny. Well, that's why there's us to teach people all about stitching for sure. So the next question is one of my favorites, and I am so excited to hear, what is your favorite project that you've stitched so far?
Go for it. I'm so glad you brought that one too.
It's hard to actually pin a favorite because I don't have a particular venue that I like, whether it's samplers or smalls or biscornus, or I like to try new things. So I had two things in my curio cabinet. The first one that I finished that I was really excited about was this piece. And what I liked about it the most was it was something I could finish myself because I had started dabbling in doing my own finishing. So that was pretty straightforward. But then I played with it and I designed my own little peyote fob to go with it and took one of the symbols and put it on a little covered button as a pendant. And then I put there is a needle minder behind here. And then I put on some little floss rings that weren't on the original, I don't think. And then the little pin cushion was there. But this was just so much fun to play with and put my own thoughts into. And then be able to finish it. So I'd have to say that's the one, when I look in my cabinet, probably stands out the most.
Yeah, I love it. I love that.
I love it too.
I wish I could remember for the life of me exactly what the name of it was.
I had the pattern downstairs too. I haven't done it yet. It's beautiful.
Yep. And it also came with, that was the no-brainer for me. It came with the background fabric.
Yeah.
So that was a done deal. They put that little piece of fabric in there and did it for me.
Perfect.
And then I had one other little one that I did that was my first biscornu. I bought this when we went to Nordic Needle on a retreat. And it was so cute, but I had never done one before. And then I actually had a little happy mistake on it. I couldn't figure out why I was running out of floss. Well, you weren't supposed to use 2 strands. You were only supposed to use 1 strand. But I really liked the depth.
I do too.
So I had to order a couple more skeins of floss to do it, but I really liked it. And then I added the beading to the finishing. That wasn't on it. And then when I put the buttons on to pull it together, I couldn't decide between the beads on the closing or the green button on the closing. So I did one on one side and one on the other.
Right there.
So you can look at it either way. So those were two of the ones that are in my curio cabinet that I really like.
Beautiful. And I have one of my favorites. It's big, so I'll explain it first. But it's the I call it the Around the World piece. It was from the online magazine called Gift of Stitching, and you basically stitched from different samplers, different time periods, all over the world.
Yeah,
and it's like a book that you're stitching from, and it was really great because you got to like learn, okay, why am I stitching this symbol, or why were the girls using it, stitching this in I don't know, Norway instead of over somewhere else. It was just really, really cool to figure it out. Plus, I did not cut my own fabric back then because I couldn't figure all of that out. So it was cut to the wrong size.
Oh,
and I started at the top left corner, and because it was on a scroll frame, and I worked my way down. Well, once I started getting down like past halfway, I realized I'm not going to have enough fabric to stitch this whole thing on there. What am I going to do? Well, that ended up being a fantastic lesson because I realized I could figure it out. I could piece it together like a puzzle. I could stitch some things over one. I could omit maybe something or stitch just a little bit of something instead of, and that is where then I decided how much I loved doing that. Just kind of doing my own thing and putting it here, putting it there, figuring it out just like a puzzle. So I'm really glad. That's why it's my favorite piece, because it taught me so much. And also McKenna has a couple stitches that she put into the piece, and Logan also put a couple stitches into the piece.
So cool.
And McKenna spilled soda on it too. So it has a lot of history.
Yep. I love that.
Yours. That's the big thing I like.
Yeah, I did. And it also just has some white work on it. It has some pulled thread. It has different stitches. It's just a fun piece. And it was on my floor stand for a very long time.
We had a
became-
removing ceremony. Right?
Yes.
But then she went into like a depression about what can we put on it next.
I know, because I liked having something
Yeah.
on the floor stand and just sitting down and stitching, for a couple minutes here or there if I didn't have time to put in a half an hour or whatever. So now I do have my montage on my floor stand again, which is great.
So cool.
Thank you.
I love how you're doing that. And that's what I was going to say when you were talking about this one, teaching you to like piece and pick and choose. That one that you're working on, the montage one, is so amazing. It is awesome.
Thank you. Well, I'll bring this one up here. Hopefully. Oh gosh. Let's see.
It's a good thing we don't pay by the pound.
Okay. We're going to disappear for a second.
Yes.
So
Oh
this is
my
it.
gosh.
Hope you can see that. Okay.
Yep. Scooch it over a little bit more.
This way.
Yep. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, and I'm sorry for the glare. Yeah, I was trying to
Actually,
glare. Sorry about that.
That's perfect right there. Or
Right
down
there?
a little bit more. Yeah, there you go. No glare. Yep. Perfect.
Okay.
Oh my
So
God.
anyway, this is it. It was so much fun. And it'll probably, I love everything. I love everything I've stitched. I don't think I've stitched something yet that I think to myself, ugh, wish I would not have did that. But this, because I learned so much, I think that's why it's my favorite.
Oh my gosh, that is stunning.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
Now talk about instant gratification. Okay. She started this after the magazine had been out for quite some time. So we had gathered all the issues of the magazine. So it was all there. But the people who did this originally only saw the next portion because it was done as a mystery sample.
Right.
So she got to like see the whole thing and
Yes.
be able to visualize it. But some people were like,
They had
like trapped by the piece that they got every month. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like mystery samplers after the fact myself.
Oh, I like the mystery too. I think that's fun. But yeah.
No, I like the after the fact. I don't know. Something about doing mystery samplers makes me nervous because what if it doesn't work with, my decor, or what if, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think I'm
That's when you change the colors, Becca, and the fabric yeah.
Yep. I'll have to start playing around with it a little bit more and not buy the pattern exactly. So we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you enjoy most about stitching?
It honestly, for me, it is just therapy. I mean, I enjoy the kitting up of something as much as I do putting the first stitch in, as much as I do as I'm working on it, and then the final stitch, and then figuring out the finish. I love the entire process. I do have to be in the mood to finish though. I don't have to be, I'm always in the mood to stitch, but I do have to be in the mood to finish.
Yeah.
That's true.
I agree with that.
Yep.
For me, I think my career was, how do I want to say it? I was a pencil pusher, basically. So I didn't produce anything. I didn't give any kind of assistance to anything creative or productive,
So
with
it's
the
creative.
exception of my marketing. I mean, that's pretty creative, but again, that's all gray matter. And for me, I actually produced things. That's what I liked. I liked to create the things. And that, I think, is why that had such a big niche for me.
Yeah.
Because I actually could come home and I actually finished this. I did it. And I
Yeah.
had something to say. Like you often say, that time period in my life, I made this and all these other things went on in my world while I was doing that. And so it's a tapestry, if you will, of what you were doing when.
That's so true. I don't know if you feel that way, Becca, but we have talked about this. I can look at anything I've stitched and I put there's a feeling to everything I've stitched. And I know exactly where I was, what I was doing, what was going on in my life. And there's a feeling that comes along with that piece when I'm looking at it.
Yep.
And that is so cool. I love that.
Yeah. Yep. I think I'd say that in a lot of interviews is I really, really love the pieces that have the memories, that have the meaning, that have just the history behind them. That just makes them extra special. So I feel like 100% that way too. I can look at, some of my pieces and be like, oh, I stitched this on a road trip with my husband to whatever, Love it. So very cool. We're going to get out of Stitchy Talk a little bit and learn a little bit more about both of you. The next question is, what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
Oh, go for it. She's the movie buff.
I am a movie buff. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say there's a particular genre because I'll have a favorite actor and I'll watch a whole variety of things they do. Or there might be a series of movies that have got my attention and then I'll watch the whole series. But I do remember that same move, which I think about it now, Kelsey's 13. My granddaughter just turned 13. And it was like right before I turned 13 when we moved to Arkansas. And that was when I took the embroidery class and was getting an allowance and babysitting. So I had money. I went to see my own movie by myself at the theater on the base. And it was a John Wayne movie.
Really?
And it was called Big Jake. I won't forget it.
Love John Wayne.
That was like the creation of the beast, and from there it just kept going. I used to watch all the Saturday afternoon movies on a cold or dreary day, especially the B Westerns. I love those. So I'd have to say right now, no genre, but definitely movie buff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have movie posters from like the theaters that I collected. So
That's cool.
Yeah. Now I just need a place to put them.
Yeah. Yeah. You need your own theater.
Yeah. I'm not
That's
moving
what
the
you need.
stitching.
Yeah. For me, I am not someone who likes to be scared. So I do not do the horror movies, or it's even hard for me to watch something that has a lot of like
Evisceration. No bleeding.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
No.
I can't do bleeding either. My husband laughs at me. I'm like, no.
Yeah, yeah,
I have to help her off the floor.
yeah. If I'm going to sit down and watch anything, I just want to either be happy or moved. Something like that, I don't want to have to like lay in bed awake, worried about what I just saw, or scared about what I just saw, or sad about what I just saw. So whenever there's a movie or a show, I'll always ask Liz, so is this something I'd like? Because she knows,
We were just talking this morning after the Kentucky Derby about Secretariat. And I'll never forget when I loaned them the DVD after that movie came out. Matt's like, that's my favorite movie now
his
forever.
favorite movie.
And
It is still
so-
his favorite movie.
so there's a little DVD loaning going on all the time. In fact, we
Love
got
it.
2 of them now.
There too. Yeah.
Yeah, she's watching Red and Red 2 right now with
Yeah.
Bruce Willis. Those are
Yeah.
funny movies. Mary
Yeah.
Louise, but
Yeah.
John Malkovich. He's so funny in those movies. He's the bald guy, by the way. Yes, I have to like remind her who's on.
I know.
You have like your own personal blockbuster, which is kind of cool.
Actually, we've gotten rid of several of them to the grandkids and their
Oh, gosh.
family and things. But oh gosh, we had more DVD and movie
Yeah.
space than I did books. Actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think what we need is like our own separate house for our stitching and for like your movie posters. Anything we collect, we just need a separate house with just walls
Yes.
to fill.
Yep, definitely.
Every
That's a
now
good
and then
idea.
a floss tuber will talk about their she shacks. And I think that's what we need, our own she shack.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
that's a
thinking
great
about
idea.
that because we have like a shed in the back that my husband could finish. There's the building, but it needs, insulation
Yeah.
and all that. But then I'm like, I don't know if I want a separate building outside of the house to do that, like for me, because I like to stitch downstairs and all my stuff's there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to stitch where my family is.
Yeah.
Like if they're home, I'm not going to put myself down in my craft room. I like to do finishing and things like that down there, but I'm not going to stitch down there because I want to be where my family is.
Yeah.
So, and you do too.
Yep.
You stitch where other people are. So
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know about the she shed or she shack or whatever, but it's neat. And it works for some people. I just don't think.
yeah.
I don't think it would be for me, but. So what fictional place would you most like to go to?
Do you know?
You're gonna laugh at me because I actually have been there. But when we lived in Arizona, in Tucson, we were stationed. We went to old Tucson as a kid, and that's where all of John Wayne's movies, aside from the one she wore yellow ribbon and the one she did with John Ford, they were out in New Mexico. But I walked around where he had done the movies. That was so exciting. And I think now, after having appreciation of even more of them, I'd love to. But now that he's gone, it kind of takes that excitement away a little bit because I went there when he was still making movies. And I think, I did meet Dean Martin.
Did you?
Yeah, in Tucson.
Oh,
He
wow.
went to the wrong place. Our school was on the corner and our house development was just maybe half a mile up the road. And this is in the foothills. So there's no building around, but there was a little gasoline station corner mart type building across from the school. And I was coming home from school and I happened to hear a voice. So I trotted across the street and it was Dean Martin. He was in the station wagon. He had his dog and he was looking for Bel Air. Well, Bel Air Estates was the place where all the actors and actresses had their palatial homes up in the Catalina Mountain foothills. He went to Bel Air Ranch Estates, which is where we live, which is where the middle class people buy their homes. And so he ended up in the wrong place. He was like completely across town from where he wanted to be, but I got to see him as like, that was fun.
That's neat.
So he also did some movies in Tucson and with John Wayne. So
very cool.
Anyway, yeah, that's a cool place. And if I did get back to Tucson, I would probably go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
The only thing I could think of was the farm from the Anne of Green Gables.
Ooh.
That's where I would like to live.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Awesome. Oh,
He
perfect.
pretty much constructed that.
yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, she's working on that here.
That's true. That's true. That's funny. It's funny that you met Dean Martin when I was younger. So I grew up in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon. So we went to the coast a lot. And my parents, we went on a family trip to Astoria. And it was when Arnold Schwarzenegger was filming Kindergarten Cop, I think it was.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I was young, but we had pulled up this road. I just remember this hill and I was young and my dad took me out of the car and we went on the corner by the school and he was like telling me, this is the school. I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, wow.
Coolest thing ever. And he is for a little kid, like he's crazy tall.
Oh, I bet he just looked like the Hulk almost. Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't get to like meet him, but it was cool to be able to see him and
Yep.
And it's still stuck in my head. I don't even know how old I was because I don't even remember when that movie came out, but yeah, it was cool. Anyways, so if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
Oh, for me, that's easy. Since I lost my mom when I was a teenager, I would love to be able to sit down with her now that I'm grown and a mom and I would love my mom I would love to just have a day where I was with my mom again at this age and she could meet the kids and Matt, and that's what I would want to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
I find myself thinking about that kind of thing when Mother's Day and Father's Day come around now.
Yeah.
But I think given my circumstances, I was thinking it would be cool if I could put myself back on my horse out in California, riding on the beach, which is what I was able to do as a high school kid. We had horses, and I can't do that kind of activity anymore. And if I could just pick a day from my past and do it again, it would be one of those.
Oh, both of those are absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness. It's always nice to think of, what if I could do this, just to bring back the memories is fun. Yeah. So do you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch?
I've always crafted. It was something that always interests me. I used to be a Stampin' Up! Consultant, so I did a lot of card making, scrapbooking. My kids each have a scrapbook for every year of their life up until the end of elementary school.
Oh, wow.
And then I did like a Disney book for them and things. I don't know. I made jewelry for a long period of time. That's how I sent my husband on his first hunting trip to Colorado.
Cool.
So yeah, lots and lots of different kind of crafts.
That's cool.
And I also like to cook and bake. I really do. I love to be in the kitchen.
Yeah, you cook a lot.
Yeah, and I like it. I like it.
You enjoy it.
I got an Instapot 2 years ago for Christmas, and I used it once because I thought I was going to like it. I can't stand it. And I figured out the reason why I can't stand it is because I don't want it to be instant. I love the process.
Yep.
And I didn't know I loved the process until I got the Instapot.
Yeah.
I can see that. I'm glad that you said that because my husband is the cook and he loves, spices and doing the process and he bakes too. And we were talking about an Instapot and kind of going that route because he's so tired when he gets home from work and then, he cooks and stuff. And now that you said that, I'm sure he's going to hate it and it would be a waste of money for us. I don't think that would work. So thank you.
Not coming for Father's Day. No.
I mean, it was used once and it is sitting right where it's just, I think it's great for people who don't really like to cook. Well, then that's perfect.
Yep.
So.
Or time constraints even.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When I worked, I was a single mom for quite a while. And when I worked with the kids, my crock pot was my Instapot.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the crock pot too.
Yeah, and I would use that in the morning. It was great because I'd come home and I'd say, "Oh, the little woman's been in the kitchen all day."
You walk in, you're like, "Oh, it smells so good in here."
It smells so good, right? Yeah, the crock
If you
pot.
can't smell it, then it doesn't have that same appeal to me. I like to smell it cooking.
Oh, I know. I never wanted somebody to fry my turkey outside because on Thanksgiving Day, oh my gosh, I got to have that smell.
Yep.
Oh, love it. Yeah.
So I'd have to say, for me, I don't really have any other hobbies. If I were still able, I would definitely still have a horse. No doubt about it. That was through high school, next to stitching. That was my complete release. I can't tell you how many hours I cried on the neck of my horse. I mean, just like one of those days in high school where nobody connects with you and you're feeling like nobody understands you, or your parents are talking about what your future is and you haven't lived through the day yet, so you have no idea. Yeah. So I would put my hands around my horse and just sob on his neck for 5 minutes and then go for a ride.
Yeah.
And then of course his response to that would be to back out of the stall and step on my toe. And then that cured the moment and then off we go. But yeah, I even said to my daughter the other day, I said, if there was a way to get all 4 of the girls a horse right now, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Something for them to have to care for, take care of, and enjoy all at the same time. It's such a growing experience for a young person, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Animals in general are very therapeutic, but horses, my younger daughter had gone through a very difficult time a few years ago. And I had a friend who has horses and she races horses and stuff and barrel racing and stuff.
That's fun.
She took my daughter under her wing and gave her horse lessons and taught her how to ride and to trot, all the basic kind of stuff. And it was insane how much, my daughter loved the horses and how much it helped her. So they are therapeutic. There's
very.
something about it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's bigger than you are. I think that's part of it for me.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so much bigger than I am. And yet it's completely dependent on everything I do for it. And it was just a completely different experience from anything else in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing that you had that experience, because not very many,
No.
teenagers or kids get that kind of experience. And
it was a blessing for us. And it was connected to Dad's military, because the bases have stables in some of them, and they're very affordable because they're sponsored by the military.
Yep.
And if it hadn't been for that, we wouldn't have had it. It just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, because we discovered, because we were thinking of, kind of taking over one of the horses, and the rent. Nope.
Yeah.
It's really expensive. It's really expensive now. So yeah.
Yep. Even the cost of horses has changed.
Yes.
We paid $250 for my Morgan Arabian.
Wow.
In 1976. And we moved back here to the East Coast after college, and I started looking for myself, and I couldn't touch a retired quarter horse for under $1,200.
Yep.
And it wasn't a young one either. I mean, we're talking mature horse. I thought, wow. I mean, if that's the starting off price, like,
Yeah.
It's expensive. It really is. Yeah. So this is one of my favorite questions. Usually I ask how your friends would describe you. And since you guys are friends, I was thinking that how would you describe each other would be a great question.
I'll start.
Oh, no.
And I'll try my best not to cry. Liz is the most generous person I think I've ever met. And from the second we met, there was an instant connection. And I think that is rare to find that in life with someone. She has been, from the start, she's been family. And like the sister that I never had, she is so easy to talk to, funny. She's so compassionate and loving. And I mean, the very first, if you ever need anything, she's the first one to give you the shirt off her back. And I mean, willingly, happily, not like, okay, here you go, she is just the most wonderful, wonderful friend you could ever ask for. She is an aunt to the kids. She's, I love her so much. You're welcome.
We'll have to do a take off now and go fix our makeup when we're done.
I'm getting teary-eyed.
So I guess, I mean, she's just, I can't say anything. Let me find something really bad. Let me find something to say that annoys me. No, I just love you.
Thank you. I love you too. And I would have to I was thinking about Deb and our friendship, and it's almost like she's lived a life I always thought would be another part of my life as well. And there's so many connections between us, but she's probably one of the most quiet-minded people I know. She's calm. She's not overly reactive about things. She processes things before she responds. Except for those times when you really need an instant response. She's right there with it, like something really off the wall great happens. She's like, boom, she's your biggest cheerleader. And she's just an absolutely incredible mom and wife. You are. And
thank you.
Every Mother's Day comes around and I want to like send her volumes about how well she did the following year or previous year. But she's there. She's there for everybody in her family. And it's a big one. Her husband has five brothers, four brothers. There's 5 in the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they all have big families. And then her and her brother. And it's if you get the privilege of being part of the family, which I did, it's a great family to be part of. And she's the center of that family, the whole family. And And I love that.
Oh, thank you.
And I am glad to have another sister.
Yes, right.
So
Oh, you too. I love that so much. You, like I said in the at the beginning in your videos, your friendship comes out, and just hearing you two talk about each other. And this was kind of on the fly too. You guys, you didn't prep for this question ahead of time, because we didn't talk about me having you talk about each other. So for that to just come out is amazing. You can tell how much you love each other, and how close you are. So that's awesome. Everybody should have somebody like that.
Yeah.
In life. Everybody
I agree.
should. Definitely.
I can't imagine life without you.
I know. Me neither.
We've had to make a pact that neither of us will move ever. And if we do, the other one goes along. Families have to figure out how to get there.
Yep. Everybody else is going to have to work around y'all.
We have kind of a fun thing coming up. It's kind of our second, because McKenna got married last year.
Yeah.
But Kevin's getting married this year, my son. And so we're going to Illinois for that wedding. So we're already planning our stitching trips after the wedding. And Matt wants to go hunting before the wedding. So I'm not sure exactly how it's all going to work out.
We'll
But
figure
it should be
something
fun.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. All that matters is the two of you. You get to do your thing. Everybody
That's
else
right.
figure it out.
Yep. We've already agreed we can't sit together during the wedding because I have to sit with the family. But
Oh my gosh.
well, actually, maybe we can work that out too.
Oh,
We'll figure it out.
oh my.
You can just sit on the edge of the aisle.
There you go.
And just have, the.
Yep.
That's funny.
Well, I could not have looked at her when I was walking up the aisle at McKenna's wedding.
No.
Because I would have I was already like fake smiling because I was crying, but I had to like paste the smile on. Happy cry. It's one of those days where you are so happy, but you are also
Emotional.
Oh,
Very.
yes.
Yeah.
And I knew I could not look at her. There's no way, or I would have just lost it.
Well, the funny thing was I watched McKenna walk up, but I was already in tears because I'd watched you and Matt come in. So it's like, I'm here for her, but it's nice that you're getting married, McKenna.
Weddings are emotional anyway. So just,
Oh, I know. I always cry. I don't even have to know the bride. But once I see like the bride and her dad, or if I look at the parents, or forget it.
Yeah.
And it's so cute. We have this one picture of Logan, and he's going like this, and he says he was wiping a bug out of his eye. But of course we know, yeah. And it was really cute because I remember on the day I got married, my brother, every time we locked eyes that day, we cried because we knew it was changing, and I wasn't going to be at home anymore, and it was just us. It was just us and Dad. And so while it was wonderful and I was ready to start my life with Matthew, I also didn't want to leave home.
Yeah.
It was such a bittersweet moment. And that's exactly how it felt with McKenna. We are so excited for her and her journey and watching her as she grows. But also we want her at the table, and we want to kisses goodnight and so it's just hard.
Yeah.
So they changed her to the house for a year after she was married.
That's right.
I was gonna say, change is exciting, but in emotional and scary, but it's something that has to happen. And I think I'm coming to terms with that, because my daughter's 23 and she's graduated college, and, she's going to be doing her own thing. And I'm trying to mentally prepare for that because I'm going to be an emotional wreck. But, that's what people keep telling me is change is something that has to happen. But, it's good. It's scary. It's an emotional time, but
somebody once told me change is the only certainty.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And that's so true. And I often thought that growing up in the military was a great platform for change because it's not up to you and you have to make the best. My mom did such a great job. She would call the Chamber of Commerce where we were moving to and get pamphlets and information. And then we learn about where we're going at the table at night before dinner or after dinner. And so she always made it into an adventure for us.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad, we were coming into Arizona. We were 8 when we moved there. And he said, I'll give 10 cents to the first person who spots a cactus that does this. So he got us quiet so fast. We're all looking out the windows and nobody was saying a word. He got like at least 100 miles of quiet out of that.
Wow.
He was very smart. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That's so cool that they made it kind of like an adventure type of thing.
Yeah, that
Thought
is
about
wonderful.
But when you think about it, if you have military experience, you know how often change occurs. And I always thought that was kind of a good platform for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at
Because
it.
it didn't stop.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I wish I would have thought about that. We moved like every 3 years when the girls were younger. We only had a couple duty stations before, he retired. But yeah, wow. I love that. That's hopefully any other military families watching this, can use that for their kids, because change is hard for kids, especially military kids where they're moving, 2-3 years and then they have to start over again. So that is so cool.
Yeah.
Love that. So we're going to get back into stitching, talk a little bit. How do you prefer to stitch? Do you use, we kind of mentioned this, but a hoop, a Q-snap, scroll frame, what do you use?
Yes, yes, and yes. I do not prefer to stitch in hand. I think I hold my fabric or something too tight and it ends up hurting.
Yep.
So I have to use something. And I also like my fabric to be taut. I do know that. So whether it's a hoop or a Q-snap or the scroll frame, or a lap stand or anything, I use it all. Yeah.
I used to use a floor stand on larger items, but with my back now, I can't extend my arms like that. So I started stitching in hand probably over 10 years ago on linen, and I like that. But some of the bigger pieces I'll use Q-snaps for, and I'll put them in my lap stand and use that. But I was thinking the other day, I hardly use my scroll rods for anything anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe if we get that
because you'd
floor
have to reach.
stand from Patuki that comes up to the chair. We're waiting. I'm still got them in my purse too. But I hope to try a floor stand that might work well with a recliner. And I'm looking forward to that. If it works, I'll be singing its praises forever.
Yeah.
I've tried the in hand too, and I think it's the same. Like my hands, and I ache anyways in my hands, but holding that fabric, so I need the Q-snap and like a lap stand so that
Yeah.
because I don't know, it just gets achy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preferred fabric that you tend to lean towards more, or is it just whatever?
Brand or count or both?
Either. Yeah.
And,
Usually.
I love to switch around. I like, what was it? 56, I think is the highest so far that we've worked on. And I like Ada. I like it all. I really do. Like that one pillow. What was that fabric? It was like 11 count. The
Claustron.
And but it's just so cool. And I like to go back and forth, like where my stitches are really, really, really tiny and I have to concentrate to something where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is nice, easy. And,
Yep.
So I honestly like it all. There is gorgeous Ada and there's gorgeous linen. So
I think because I don't use a hoop often and use just my hands, I'm kind of impressed by the feel of different fabrics. So I tend to like fabric from Lakeside Linens, Access Commodities. I like a tighter weave to the fabric. I do stitch on some weeks, but theirs is a looser fabric to speak of. And so a lot of the smalls like Stacy Nash, her little animal cracker pieces, they're done on weeks. So I'll use a small Q-snap for those because I need it tighter than I hold it in my hand. But the other ones I like a lot. But I do really like the feel of Lakeside Linen, but they're not generating as much fabric right now. So I've gravitated towards Access Commodities and I like that. And I did get a piece of Legacy Linen the other day, that wild honey.
Yeah, really pretty.
And it has a really nice body to it.
It does.
So
yeah. I like Fiber on a Whim too.
Yes.
I like their fabric. Yeah.
And Rogue Stitching, that has a nice body to it too. I hadn't used theirs at all until we were in Nashville and I found their fabric, but it's nice. So
yeah,
And I tend to do 32, 36, and 40. That 28 piece we're working on right now, that's kind of fun to go back to.
It? Yeah.
So I'm kind of like Deb, just depends on what we're working on and where it goes.
Yeah.
I like that. Very cool. Do you have a favorite place that you've traveled, and did you bring stitching along when you went?
I would say my absolute favorite place would be when Matt and I went to Germany and Austria, because I had never been overseas before. So that was incredible. And yes, I did take stitching. I think I only worked on it on the plane.
I think you said you never picked it up when you were there.
No. Because we were just too busy exploring and then exhausted.
Didn't you work on the little chick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, on the plane. So I guess that would be my favorite. I do try to take stitching with me when I go different places. Not for like just the day, maybe if I don't know. But if we're traveling anywhere, yeah, I'll take it along.
I was trying to think of a favorite place, of course, moving around as much as we did.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there is a place I've been back to several times, which was Yosemite National Park. I just love that park.
I'd love to see that.
And I did have my stitching, and I did stitch in the evenings. And then when night fell, then I stitched in the camper with the lights on. So I did have it there. So yeah, I would probably take it again and go back again if I could, although it's changed a lot. When I was there, it was wide open and you could drive in and you could go to the different lookout points. But now I believe in an effort to keep emissions and things under control, you can take the electric trams to places. So you park outside and then you get shuttled in, I think, to the main lodge. That's what I was told. But I haven't been back since I graduated from college. That's where I went on my trip for myself after college. And that would have been 1982. So it's been a long time since I've been there. Gosh, that's cool. Yeah, we won't talk about how many years that is.
I would love to visit someday. That's a bucket list. A lot of the national parks are my bucket list.
And I tell you, I've seen pictures of it in the winter, and I really would be torn now whether I would want to go back in the winter or the summer. I did the hikes when I was there in the summer, and I loved it. But the views are spectacular in the winter. Absolutely gorgeous.
Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's cool. So what can you not do without for your stitching? Like your favorite go-to must-have kind of item? I know gadget corner. I know you've probably some good questions.
I usually always pack, aside from my needles, which are a must, like you said, I usually always have my Magna Clip magnifiers with me of whatever fits the size fabric. But then I have this little stick. It was called a boo-boo stick when I got it. I don't know what Rainbow Gallery calls it now, but one end is a needle that's cut off. So it's like a little fork. And the other end is the bent end of the point needle. So it's like one needle on two sides of a stick. So you can use it to tuck your threads through, like if you have to get it under the tail, under the stitches.
Okay.
Or you can use the point on it to pull threads if you have to remove any or tuck them in.
Oh,
so it's kind of a neat little gadget.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that or not.
I didn't even
Now they used to make it in size 22 needle on it or a 24, 26, or 28. But I've been waiting to get a 28 for 10 years now? The only ones I can find are 24 and 26s, and this was a 26. So I did have a 28 that I think I gave my mom, but I don't know where it ended up over the years. So that's the one I keep on hand.
That's cool.
For me, I guess I'd have to have some kind of either my cheaters or like these are real, but either my cheater glasses or mag eyes, mag clips, something.
To make those stitches bigger?
Yeah, I think that would be just my absolute must have. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Especially if you're doing the higher counts. Those holes are so tiny.
Oh, definitely.
Oh my goodness.
And we're not 24 anymore.
Yourself. Just kidding. No. Nope.
We hit 25 yesterday and that's it. Now we do magnifiers.
That's so funny. So last weekend at work, I have work children that, have adopted me, and they come and they call me mom and stuff like that. Well, Sunday I had taken off because it was Mother's Day. So Saturday, a couple of my work children, they kept coming up to me, Mom, you look great. You're only 20, or the other one 25, and you look so. You're my favorite work children ever.
That's cute you said that, because McKenna at her work, she has work moms and a work dad. And I never heard that before. That's so cute.
Yeah. You just adopt the kids, or get adopted, I guess. That's cool.
That's cool.
So this is kind of a fun question. This is, how do you decide on what you're going to work on next for your projects?
I have a process I go through. Do I want to work on something I can finish real soon? Do I want to work on something I have going on and haven't looked at in a while? Or do I want to work on something that I haven't started? And depending on how the mood moves me, that's what I pick up. So there are definitely projects in all those categories in my stash.
Yeah. For me, I really, it's just, what do I feel like working on?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I do not count my stitches. I don't have certain days where I do certain things. I don't have any of that. It's just whatever I feel like picking up. If I haven't touched it for a year and a half and all of a sudden it comes to my mind, okay. If I feel like working on something for 6 weeks straight and not touching anything else, okay. I mean, as long as every single stitch I'm making is bringing me joy, that's it. That's my only requirement.
Yeah.
It's funny how groups of people have connected with each other over interests and made it into games of what to choose to stitch on.
Yeah.
And I think that's great that it works for them.
Right.
But I couldn't lock myself in that way.
Yeah. I've tried the wheel, and you hit it and it comes up with something. You're like, I don't want to stitch on that. Don't tell me what to do.
I know. Oops.
Darn, gotta do it again. I'm a lot of people, I think, over the interviews that I've done, a lot of them is just basically whatever's calling to them. There's not really a whole lot of stitchers that I've talked to that have like a rhyme or reason to it. There are a few that, have their set days and their rotations, but the majority of us, I think, are just the whatever we gravitate towards, or whatever's closest is what people say. So that's just kind of funny, doing these interviews and talking with a bunch of different people, how much we have in common as far as like decision making and outside of stitching commonality, which is kind of neat. So the just whatever's calling to me kind of thing. I do like you like your 3 questions type of thing, because it helps for some of us who have a lot of whips to kind of like narrow it down a little bit, instead of like, because I sit there and I flip through mine and I'm like, what do I want to work on? But I kind of like that, and like having
I will say that the floss tube that we do does sometimes drive what I'll pull out. If it's something that we're working on that's a stitch along, then Deb's much more disciplined about that than I am, but I'll try to make sure I pull that out and work on that some. Or I might want to have a finish time that I have coming up, and I want something new on my craft table to finish. And so I'll look for something a little bit quicker. So the channel sometimes, when we first started.
That is so true. I'm glad she brought that up. And I don't know if you feel this way, Becca, but like, we started it because we love to stitch, but then, after you have your first year or whatever, and you've pretty much shown everything that you've had on your walls or you've worked on, and then you're looking at each other going, do you have anything to show this week? I don't know. Did you work on anything? Well, I've been really busy this week. And you start to get pressure like on yourself. I mean, putting pressure on ourselves. And then we even got to a point where it just wasn't as much fun, because we were doing it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And once we realized it, and we're like, you know what? This is our channel. We have to just have a show every week that we know we love, that we put ourselves into. And, we're just going to let, as we did in the beginning, we're just going to let God lead it. And what it is what it is. And that takes the pressure off of us, so that was much nicer.
We had to remind ourselves of, you had asked about starting it the bottom line when we started our channel was we just wanted it to be a reflection of the joy that we have in our needlework.
Yeah.
That was it. That was our only goal.
Yep.
And we had to remind ourselves of that because as people asked questions or people said, I can't wait till next week to see the finish on the blah, blah, blah. And it's like, next week?
Yeah.
No, probably not. I'm out of the house 3 nights next week. That's not happening.
Right.
So that's what we're talking about after a year. And you build that rapport with the people who watch. And then you start to feel a little bit of pressure. And so that reminder to ourselves about, no, this is our journey.
Yes.
And there are going to be differences in what we do in our journey.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And it is our journey. Yep. So even if you get someone who, says something about, I'd like to see this instead of this. It's like, well, this is our journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said that because I've been kind of feeling, I don't know, feeling off, I guess, because I've been doing the Flosstuber for a couple of years and I want to focus on something, or I just started doing a little bit of designing and I don't want my channel to turn into, oh, this is my design. Oh, this is my design because I'm stitching them. I don't have somebody else stitching them. And just trying to figure out like a good balance between everything because it started to get stressful. And I had to do kind of what you guys did, take a step back and actually this last video with all the comments, because I got a couple of, not so nice comments and messages sent to me privately. And I addressed it and, I got a lot of support on pretty much every comment that was left is, Becca, this is your channel. You can do whatever you want with your channel. And seeing that from all of the people that were, that watched that video that are so supportive and so loving, it actually, and because it was so recent, I've been thinking about, it is my channel. So, I can kind of do whatever I want.
Yes.
I've been trying to, I try to make everybody happy and, have a lot of content to share.
But that's the thing though, Becca, you won't always be able to please everyone, you know, and the ones that are gracious and kind and sweet, which is the majority.
Yep.
Those are the ones we want around us. Those are the ones that we want to hear from. Those are the comments we love. Those are the people that keep us in their hearts and their minds, and we keep in our hearts and our minds. So the few people out there that say things and speak of things that maybe are not as kind, luckily they're few and far between, and they're not who I would. It's okay if they want to go and watch another channel I'm learning. This is your journey, and as long as you sit down and you enjoy your time on Flosstube, then everything else is a-okay because it's you, it's for you. Yes, you're doing it for other people, but it's your journey. And this is like your videos are going to be out there, just like ours are going to be out there, and your kids are going to watch them later. Your grandkids might watch them someday. I mean, things like that, though, it's kind of cool to think of that. Yep. Yeah. I like that.
And I said to Deb one time after we got a not so supportive comment, I said, well, you know what? We ought to just tell them we'll refer that to our production crew.
Yes.
And we'll let them handle that.
Yeah. I love it.
But just like our technical crew and our hair and makeup crew.
Right. Yeah. Because
comments about that too. So
all the behind the scenes fancy stuff right there. Yeah. No, I'm so glad that y'all said that. And, it just kind of, coincides with my recent videos. And, I hope anybody who didn't hear what you just said, I hope it resonated with them and helped them because it definitely did me.
Well, good. Yes. Just enjoy it. Yeah. Just enjoy it and be yourself because that is awesome to be able to sit there and do that, Becca. So
Yep. I love that. So where are we? I think, we are almost to the last question, but before we jump into the last question, just curious if there is something that not many people know about you that you'd like to share.
Do you have anything? I'm sure there is. Let me think.
Well, I had 2 things come to mind and they're like polar opposites.
Really?
Yeah. Well, one, my hands were covered with warts from the time I was 9 until I was 14, and I have no idea where they went or why they came. but they're gone.
Really?
Yeah. They say it's a virus, but I was just thinking about stitching in my hand. I was thinking, oh yeah, I used to have to work around that one on my finger.
Oh, wow.
Driving. That's right on the side of my needle finger, but they're gone. But the other one was actually kind of fun. I've been an administrator since I was born, I think. I was 4 when I started carrying my dad's briefcase around the house. And that's been the direction I went through my career. So that's kind of, most people don't know that.
Yeah, that is cute. Yeah. I can see that. You came out with your little ledger.
I did. My little bean counter. And
Mom, I need to be fed now, and then I want my diaper changed, and then I want.
I was probably directing my twin sister all through her life. Carol, you don't want to be doing that.
Oh gosh. I don't. I know there's something. Obviously, there's tons of stuff. I'm sure. I don't know. I loved. My dad worked on the railroad for his whole life, and he was a signalman, a signal repairman. And I loved when I was a little girl, if he would get a night call, he would come and wake me up, and I could go with him on night calls if it was a weekend. Oh. And I loved doing that because he would take me to these like railroad bridges where we would walk out together, which you can see straight down through the water. And it was always so scary. And I can still remember holding Dad's hand, and we'd go out there and where all the controls are. And then I would be the one that could open and close the bridge. And those times with my dad, because I'd sit right next to him in the truck too. Like, you know, he had one of the old trucks with the bench seat. I'd sit right next to him. He always let me work the radio, and I'd sing songs, and we'd get home at, you know, an awful time in the early morning hours, but it was just so much fun. I loved that special time with my dad.
That's so cool.
Oh, and this you might not know about me. Since my dad worked on the railroad, and a lot of times snakes would warm themselves on the lights. Well, my dad loved snakes, and he didn't have any pet snakes when he was raising us, but he did when he was a younger man. And so if he found an interesting snake, he would put it in his big thermos, like his big drinking thermos that he would take to work, bring it home to show Brian and I, you know, and explain to us like what kind of snake it is and that kind of thing. Well, one day when he was bringing one home, he forgot to tell Mom that he had put one in there. And so the big red thermos goes into the kitchen sink, and she unscrews the lid, and she's getting ready to wash it out. And all we heard was Frank, you know, like, oh my gosh. But that was really neat. So I was never scared of snakes because Dad taught us about them. Until the one day I had to kill a copperhead that I almost stepped on. That was not fun. But that, I guess
that was
something.
a 3 phone call day.
Oh my gosh. That was crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then after she dispatched the snake, she went back to get it, but she didn't realize that little guy was going to keep moving after he was dispatched.
Yeah.
So he wasn't in the same spot.
No. And his head went that way and his body went that way. Oh my gosh.
I didn't know they did that.
Oh,
it was crazy.
Oh. See, my brother was a snake fan, and rattlesnakes he would collect in Arizona and then make headbands for the people at the stables for their cowboy hats out of the hide.
Yep.
And it was nothing to be riding along and have him throw the reins of his horse to me, and he's off his horse and in the bush and coming out with another rattler. And it's like, oh my word, Ed, can you give it a rest?
Wow. Your poor mom.
Yeah. Well, the rule was it doesn't come home, Edward.
Oh,
it stays at the stables. But he had to come around and show us everything about like when it didn't have a head anymore and it was still coiling around his arm.
Oh.
I respect them, but I don't care for them. Mm-hmm. I would not have a pet.
I don't want it. I don't need a reptile as a pet. No, I like fuzzy, fluffy.
Yes. Pet the bunny.
Yes. I like those kind of pets.
Yeah. No reptiles. It's all good.
I had Casey telling me the other day that she wants a snake, and could she get a green one?
Oh,
and Pop said, well, I don't know about green. And I said, well, garter snakes are kind of green, sometimes brown, just depends. And she says, do we have any around here? And I said, well, yeah, actually one of them ran over my foot when I was walking the dog the other day. Can we have it? I said, no, my mom doesn't think we need to have one. No, we can play outside with one.
That's funny. That's too funny. So We are on to the last question. This has been a blast. I
It
love
has.
all the stories that y'all tell. That's the whole just sitting there talking to friends kind of thing. This is my most favorite question out of all of them. And it's, what's the best thing that has happened to you within the past couple of years? I asked this because the past couple of years have been rough. So trying to find the bright spot in the past couple of years.
Do you want to go first or?
Sure. It's kind of hard because we've had two things happen. I'll go with one of them. We left Illinois in 2009, and that's when I met Deb. And my son stayed in Illinois. He was working for John Deere at the time. And then he went on to have his own company, and then he moved to Chicago and then started with another company, a different direction in life. But I always wanted to visit him because I remembered coming out of college, that very first time my parents came to my home, that was such an affirming time for me. It's like, you're welcoming into your home and you've always been part of their home. And I always wanted to do that when he settled down. But And I had done that with my daughter because she had a home here and we came back regularly to visit her and her family. So it was a priority for me, but I had never discussed it with him. Then I started asking about visiting and he would say, oh, it'd be nice, except Rumi is a bit of a pig and I'm not sure we'd have a room for you, nor would it be clean. And so there were all these little, things that got in the way. And then he finally met his fiance and they settled into a home. And so then it came up, he said, Mom, we're moving to Minneapolis. We'll be there in August. Would you like to come visit in September? And I went, well, yes, is the first response. And second, are you sure you want me to come in September if you're only getting there in August? He said, Mom, we have two 750-foot apartments of which I have no furniture and she has all of it. So I don't think we're going to have a lot of moving in time. So he said September would be okay. So September, I got to go visit him for the first time. And that was just awesome. I had no idea what it would be like because his adult life, he and I have gotten to know each other over the phone because we were so far apart. It was night after night of just visiting like this and just recounting things from our past, talking about what his future is, getting to know Carrie, who I had not gotten to meet yet. So it was just wonderful. And I get to go back Thursday, this coming what's today? Friday.
No, today's Thursday.
Okay. A week from today, I get to go back and visit. So this time we're going to go on a boat trip. So that'll be fun. So anyway, that would have to be the last couple of years, probably a highlight for me.
Yeah.
That's so neat. Reconnecting. That's so neat.
Yes.
Yeah. And for me, it would have to be McKenna getting married, going through the whole process of planning the wedding with her. And
and you started the minute she got engaged.
I know. It was like, you want to get married when? Okay, 9 months. So yeah, the whole process and her getting married and honestly, the last year of them living here, and we've known Connor for a long time because they dated for so long, but when he's living in your home, it's like, oh, it's just so cool. And then the brotherly love between Logan and Connor and it's just so much fun. And yes, it's been hard through the pandemic in different ways, with other things, but they've been a great few years. Yeah. I think, you know, and you always try to find the silver lining with everything. But I would say getting my new son.
I remember when she said about the wedding to me and I thought, okay, YouTube's going to look differently now because she's going to be busy. And I think that actually added a different dimension to our videos because we did use it differently and we used our time differently. And that was really interesting. Yeah. So it really is kind of a definite journey for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I like how you had brought us all along on the journey for the wedding too, with, updates and, that kind of thing, which was really neat too. So
yeah.
So we all felt like we were a part of it somehow. I love that both things are family related for you both for the best things that have happened with the past couple of years. It's really nice to be able to reflect and yeah, the past couple of years sucked for all of us basically,
Mhm.
but there's always something positive to come
Yeah.
out of something so terrible. So
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
thank you both so very much. I know
Aw.
we had like scheduling stuff because you both are so very busy, and I'm glad that it worked out, and that you were able just to take time to talk with me today. I was so excited.
Oh, it was our pleasure.
Yes,
Thank you
thanks
for
so
the invitation.
much. Yeah, this was great fun. Oh my gosh.
This was a blast. So I hope that we've inspired people that are watching, and that you enjoyed it, and hope that you all have an amazing time stitching, and we'll say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
See ya.
Bye.